Hello, and welcome to Apple Consulting's Central Reach Learn training platform. Today we're going to be talking about understanding Learn in Central Reach. This is going to give you an overview of what it means to have data collection in an electronic form in Central Reach, and how to conceptualize a program notebook and programs in Central Reach. So when you're conceptualizing Learn, what you want to think about is a forest. And the forest has lots of trees, obviously, and lots of branches. And in your forest, here's your forest, it has a lot of clusters or families of trees. So if you see over here, on this part of the forest, we have the behavior domain collection of trees. So that would include programs like Excuse Me, increasing response rate, being on task, playing appropriately, asking for a break. That would be sort of a cluster of trees. And so you're going to have, in each client's program notebook, you're going to have at least 7 trees. So there's 7 clusters of trees, 7 domains. And so their behavior, communication, cognitive, adaptive, and again, adaptive has its cluster of trees with programs in it like activity schedule, leisure skills, eating, cleaning, preparing meals, vocational trees, motor domain trees, parent domain trees. And what you're going to have to understand about that is that these clusters are called domains in terms of Apple's consideration, but in terms of Learn's consideration, they're considered long-term goals, and we'll get back to that later. So with each individual cluster of trees, you have an individual tree. And the individual tree has a name of a program. So we're in maybe the social communication cluster of trees or long-term goal. And we have our specific tree, which is our program action ID. This is where in Central Reach you can find the template that we used to have paper templates, document templates that had the SD, the response, the prompt, the consequence. That is all you're going to find. That is what you're going to find in the short-term goal area of the tree. They call it a short-term goal. That's where you're going to find the template narrative. And within each of these trees or branches that are targets that include the sets. So those are considered targets. We call them sets at Apple. Here in Central Reach, it's a target is called a set is called a target. So we have set 1 for action ID, eat, sleep, and cry. Set 2, drink, clap, cook, etc. Now keep in mind that everything in Central Reach is a branch, whether it's a cluster of trees, a domain, a long-term goal, a short-term goal. They consider it a branch. The programs are branches. So there's something in Central Reach that you might see. It looks like a file, a document, as you can see over here. That is a file placeholder. And honestly, it is not important for our program books. That's something that you can just overlook. It was something that was implemented a while back and is no longer needed. So we're just going to say that that's a nice placeholder, and we're going to ignore that for the purposes of learning how to navigate Central Reach program books. Then we have the long-term goal. The long-term goal always looks like a document with a target. And that is just the way that it's put together. It's a cumulative graph, but the long-term goal is also considered the domain. The short-term goal also has a target and a document, and that is considered the program level. And that's, again, where you're going to find the program template, the narrative. And then you're going to have the final level, which is the target or the set the program set, and that's going to look like this over here with a graph going upward. In order to navigate to a program notebook, you're going to go to your learning tree under clinical, and we'll go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and do this online. You're going to go to Learn, Clinical, Learning Trees, and you're going to pull up your notebook. And within the notebook, you'll see that there are file placeholders here that delineate client programs and client treatment plan narrative through assessment. For the purposes of the actual program book and targets, you're going to focus on the file client programs. So if you were to click on it, what it does is it brings down another level of your program notebook. And remember, again, we're thinking about forests, trees, those kind of things. That's what they're called. But they're all considered branches. So what you're going to see here is your top level, which again is your long-term goal or your domain. This one is behavior. And that's behavior is where your long-term goals lie. Okay? And you see that I've opened up behavior, and you can see now that we're looking at the long-term goal here. That's the top level. That's your domain. Below it is the short-term goal or your program level. And again, it's got the document with the target with it. And that is where you're going to find, again, your narrative or your template for your actual program. Before we go and look at the narrative template and I show you where that is in the actual program, I'm going to show you the final level of the branches and trees in your program notebook. We've got the long-term domain level, clicked on that, found the short-term program level, and you click on that and you find the target or set level. And that's actually where you're going to be collecting data and where you're going to be finding the mastery criteria. And you can see here there's some data collected for this client. So now I'm going to show you how to navigate through and find the instructional template. Now keep in mind what I'm showing you is something that you can't, you can only view, you can't edit. We'll show you how to edit the templates later. Remember that you find the templates in the short-term goal area, which is the second level down. And then if you want to look at the actual treatment plan goal, which is separated at this point from the instructional template, you're going to navigate over to the right, click on description, and then you'll find that this is actually what is going to be from the treatment plan template, the actual goal description with the mastery criteria as well. So again, you click on the description, and that'll show you what the description is or the goal description for that particular program. If you want to see the instructional note, you use the same bar, but you navigate all the way down to the bottom to the little clipboard where it says instructional note. You click on that, and then you'll find what's typically in Apple instructional programs. You'll find the materials, the SD, the response, the consequence, the prompt topography, all those different things, teaching notes, generalization strategies, data collection method, and for the supervisors, there are set ideas. Sometimes the sets are already in your targets over here. Sometimes the supervisor will put them in for you. Another area to be aware of when you're navigating a program notebook is the target area and where the mastery criteria are located. So your target again is your graph with your kind of target circle around that. But your mastery criteria are actually all in your targets, And if you wanted to take a look at what the mastery criteria are, and by default, they're always 80% times 2 sessions across baseline, intervention, generalization, and maintenance. But let's take a look here and see what it looks like. So you click the edit pencil. You go down, scroll down to the bottom. Then you'll see criteria and prompting settings. So here we have hierarchical criteria, and their baseline criteria, if they're less than 80% over one day, then they auto progress to intervention, which is a really nice thing to do. So it's based on your score, what happens next. Intervention, 80% over 2 data points, auto progress to generalization. Generalization, 80% over 2 data points, auto progress to maintenance. And again, this is defaulted, but it can be customized in any way that you would like, which will be discussed in another module. Maintenance criteria, that's different. It displays every 5 sessions, so it pops back up. Your sets pop back up. And if it's greater than 80 over one day, it auto progresses to the next item, which is every 15 sessions. And the nice thing about this is if your client does not receive 80% over one day, it actually goes back from 15 sessions to every 5 sessions. So that's a nice method to look at. And then finally, the maintenance criteria display every 30 sessions. And again, if they don't meet criteria, they go back to every 15 sessions. And if they display it every 30 sessions and they have 80% over one day, then it is a completed program.